Welcome to Inside Out with Kris, a podcast where there are no limits or surface level conversations. I'm your host, Kris Burns, a personal development coach on a mission to empower women to move the needle in all areas of their lives. Each week we dive into deep, thought-provoking conversations with inspiring guests. We're talking deep truths, raw experiences, and dropping game-changing takeaways to help you break free of the BS holding you back. Let's transform you from the inside out.
Welcome back to another episode of Who Me the Podcast, the special parenting and relationship series with Kris Burns. This one is a juicy one today. So we've kind of covered a whole heap of very, difficult topics for anyone who's going through that transition of like separation, co-parenting, meeting new partners, like that whole thing. So this episode, we are really going to dive deep on the transition into a blended family and adjusting your expectations and embracing your new roles. So this is something that I haven't like gone through or anything, but I can't wait to pick your brains about this because I guess the thought of going into a new relationship and taking on the stepmom role and then I guess like having a child of your own also, it's like, are you going to love those kids as much as you love your own? Like how it all works out is just something that I'm very interested in and have lots of questions around. And your whole experience, I can't wait to dive deep into that. So one of the biggest things I would love to ask you is, what were some of your biggest expectations going into the formation of your blended family, and how did those expectations evolve or change over time?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted my own biological children to combine with the family, and I wanted to have that motherhood experience. So that was paramount, that I had a bond with my girls that would cultivate relationships in the family dynamic where they felt like we were one. So in our home, we were one family. It was, yes, you do have two homes, two healthy homes, better than one unhealthy home, right? Then they have two homes and life looks one way here and one way there, and that's great, but they are both your families. And this dynamic was really, really important to me because I actually have a half brother. So I've got two brothers. One I don't have a relationship with, haven't seen him for 12 years. He was raised same mum, same dad, unfortunately took a different path in life and whatever. And then I've got my half brother who my dad got with a woman later in life. I think Seth was born, I think I might have been 13. I don't really remember, but they lived a couple of hours away. And I saw my dad every second weekend at best. So my relationship with him was quite disconnected from the get, and I didn't have any choice or control on that one. So now as I'm an adult, I did try to have a continuous relationship with him as an adult, but he's now a 17-year-old boy. He's lived with his mum the majority of the time because they separated, my dad and his mum. And I haven't really had much of a relationship, let's say. So he's got two sisters as well that are his sisters, but I was one part removed, different mums. It's that disconnect for me, I saw, I felt, and I never wanted that to be something that happened in my home. So if I had my stepdaughters, their siblings, when I had my own kids, it was paramount that I created the bond and the foundation in the family unit where we're one. We're the Burns family. We're one unit, right? You can have a different mom and you can have other siblings, but our unit is ours. Like that's paramount for me. And I think I worked really hard on that prior to my son first being born. Even the way that we told them, we made it very much about them. When we found out the sex of the baby, they were involved in that process. They were the first to know. I think my mum might have known I was pregnant, but I didn't tell anyone else before I told them. That was important, that they felt that they were a part of it like you would a normal household where it wasn't a broken home, essentially. And I think that all of those little foundations that I put in place over time with different areas, example, Christmas. If Christmas was going to be waking up at mum's, then maybe the weekend before we'd do like a big family Christmas where all of my extended family were involved as well, to really make it special and exciting. And birthday parties, like just because your parents aren't having a party together at home doesn't mean that you don't celebrate. Like that was the bonus for me as a kid with two households, is I got two parties or I got two lots of presents. Like that was the only advantage, right?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to amplify that for them, and I've done that their whole lives. Spoiled little things. They always get that extra little bit. the other component was my extended family. So my aunties and my cousins, my godfather, my mum and my stepdad have always been really involved with the girls from the get-go. And if you're in a dynamic where you do have support around you and you've got your family close by and you see them often and they don't know what to, if you're welcoming kids into your life that aren't your own, that's a conversation to definitely have with the extended family and be like, this is what I want the dynamic of my home to be. So I expect that you guys are going to treat these kids as if you would treat them as if this was my biological baby.
Yeah, that's important to have that conversation.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have to have that conversation. My family just did it, which is great, and they're amazing. And the girls have always been in my extended family's life. Like, my Auntie Sharon, for goodness sake, like they'd see her at the shops and, just little things like that, which is nice. And really just building those foundations from the start. And I feel like that probably answered that question.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, just making sure it makes me think because my brother and his partner, she has 3 beautiful girls. And it's funny because at our Christmases and stuff, we don't look at them as anything other than like the cousins.
Yeah, cousins.
It's like Mila treats the girl like So now that looking at that and just I couldn't imagine treating them any other way.
100%. Sadly, people do though. And it's usually older people to be aware of that. Like grandparents or great-grandparents might have comments like, oh, but they aren't yours, so I don't buy for them for Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? Like I haven't had to experience this in my blended family because I've got my family are great in that way. But you may, and it might be a conversation you need to have a boundary around. There would literally, I cannot imagine anything fucking worse than a child sitting at Christmas lunch with all of the extended family and you're doing presents and then one auntie doesn't buy for them because they're like, oh no, they're not biological. Like that's the part that you have to be aware that extended family members might have play out.
Yeah.
Because it's not normalized to them. They haven't been exposed to it. Like that's their fucking story time for themselves to deal with, but don't allow your kids to be exposed to that. That's a shitty experience.
I can imagine. Absolutely. All right. Well, can you share a moment with us when you first felt that real genuine sense of unity or connection in your blended family and what you learned from that experience?
Oh,
so maybe because you came in, you didn't have any children of your own, you came in as the stepmom. When did you really first be like, oh, wow, okay, this is my family?
I think when we started saying I love you. That was really special because that was pretty quick and it might have been too quick for some other people involved, and that's cool. I can understand that now that I am a mum. That might have felt a bit scary, right? And those things can, and for any mamas listening, hearing another person say I love you to your child or them yelling out love you out the window is, you leave, that's what do you mean? No, again, that thing that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
No. That was probably where I was like, I love them so much. I have always, from day dot, went into this with an unconditional love because I had women in my life that gave me conditions. I will, those girls and I do have such a beautiful bond, and I'm grateful for the foundations I put in place when I was younger. I was in my mid-20s. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, but when I look back, I'm like, did I really do that? Or say that what on earth, Kris? Come on. But I did my best, and love was never in question. If you can give your love, then you will have a really great relationship. But if you're going to withhold that for circumstances or conditions, I don't even know how to put this as an example, but I know women that have been no, that's not what you're doing, or, I come first before you.
That was going to be my, next question.
No, you don't get to come first. If you're entering a relationship with a man with children, you need to do some really good mirror work with yourself and realize that you are always going to be second. And if you can't handle that, then don't be with him. Go find a man that doesn't have kids. There's some out there, they might not be as good as the man that you've got. They might not be as good as a dad when they become a dad because your man's already done it. Be really honest with yourself. If you can't handle that,
if you can't handle, because you'd be what, third?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's
of course.
You're you totally get that because you love those kids just as much.
100%. I have never, and I will never put my needs in my relationship before theirs. And I and I think that's just what all women should be able to handle when they're entering a relationship of a blended family.
Yeah.
I think I've done a great job at that. I'm sure that, everyone's got different visions and perspectives. The girls, my stepdaughters might think I haven't, but I believe I have. Obviously, we have a really normalized household in terms of our relationship, my husband and I. Like, we put ourselves first in ways. It's like we have date night where it's just us, or we go on a holiday where it's just us, and we've got teenage girls that are going, that's not fair, we want to come. So there's normal experiences where they might disagree with that statement of, no, you guys put yourselves first all the time. Not in that sense. We do what mums and dads should be doing, which is their relationship first, to prioritize their love for each other and show them what a healthy relationship looks like too.
There's actually a saying, it's like you should have 3 holidays a year, like one just by yourself, one with your family, and then one with your partner.
Here's for that.
With your partner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so important because like so many people in relationships can get lost in their relationship. Like back to episode 1 where it's like, who am I outside of being a mum and outside of my relationship? It can be really hard. So it's so important that you still nourish within the family dynamic, nourish your own relationship to self. So then you can show up for all of the kids in the blended family. And then nourish your relationship with your partner because obviously life overwhelming a lot. And then, nourish your family as a whole, which is super important.
I love that, Dad. That's amazing. I love that concept.
Well, I love that you're already doing it, girl.
Well, pretty much. Yeah.
You get to have your little holidays here in Brisbane all the time.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's super important. And I guess what kind of advice would you have for the women who are single mums and they have met someone that, is a single dad, kind of introducing the kids and that whole family? Like, what kind of advice would you give for anyone who's kind of going through that?
Yeah, have an open table policy. So first of all, have a conversation with your partner around what are the expectations here for right now. Let's think about the next 6 months. What do we want the kids to feel in this home? Like if you're not moving in together, right, and you're just like having some weekends together and things like that, what are the key things that are going to allow them to feel really supported in their emotions and things like, let's say you have a boy and a girl and they're the exact same age and they're polar opposites and they do not get along, right? And they meet for the first time and they don't get along, and then suddenly things get really messy really quick and there's resistance there. That can play out, and I have witnessed that play out for some people. And it's like, okay, first of all, you guys are the parents. Kids are kids. Kids can have big feelings, but you can get along. You get along with kids at school. Sometimes you just got to be the parent and do the hard thing and be like, you can't people please your children in this circumstance. And I think that for a lot of mamas, they pander to the situation because they don't want to disappoint their kids, and they're so worried. I don't want to let them down again with because you might have already separated with your ex, and you feel like you're going to let them down if you're not bringing a partner and their child into their life that they're happy with. But there's got to be an element of you're the mum, right? These are 2 children. They can get along. Let's find a happy medium. Let's find happy grounds for them to get along. They're probably both feeling the same feelings of, I don't want mum or dad to move on.
Yeah.
And they're combining that and they're butting heads. So there's that could play out.
Sure.
So the open table policy is where you guys can all sit down and have a big conversation, and there's no limits for the kids, and teach them that it's safe to have no limits.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
So if they want to swear it out, if they want to say he did this, or I hate him because this, or she said this the other day, and their children, right? Just imagine 2 10-year-olds at a table going at it. It's up to you guys, mum and dad, to be like, okay, cool, let's have it out here. This is a safe space. Say what you need to say. Let's get off, and then let's find an outcome that's going to work for everyone.
Modern family vibes. I like this. I like this new age way of parenting, and because when back in the day did anyone have full transparent conversations around the dinner table? No, never. How dare you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I learned from my mentor who in her business, before they go and host their trainings, she will put all of the staff in a room and say, what are your projections? Everyone says anything that's on their mind in terms of the projection at play, so that it can't project into the room for the training, so no one else has to experience
What does the projection mean?
So it's going, mirror, mirror, what do you think of me? What are you thinking I might think of you? Or what's your feelings right now? And everything's an open table policy.
Oh,
so you can say, Davina, I think that you think I'm a piece of shit secretly, and you don't actually want to be talking to me right now. And yeah, really,
Not true.
I don't think that, guys. But that's an example right now. And then we'll talk it out about why I'm feeling that way, because deep down, that's my feeling around worthiness, right? And you'll be like, have I done something that has allowed you to feel unworthy in my company? And you have that projection come out and play. So
like, I feel like he ignores me or this or that, and he could just be like, no, actually, I had a really shit day at school. Yeah, wow, I love that. I'm going to start doing that now. Really, Mila, what are your projections?
Yeah.
Right now, before we enter.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's really great. Nice. I love that. It, again, honestly, doesn't each episode comes back to like communication, like being honest, and authentic, and like showing up and being like loud in how you're feeling and talking it out.
I've always said communication is obviously like the key ingredient to successful relationships, but I also believe that I can one up that. It's not just communication on its own. If you don't have communication with vulnerability, you've got nothing. You're getting nowhere. You're not going to meet anyone in their needs or wants or desires. You are literally going to have a failed outcome if you're not being vulnerable within yourself and holding another person's vulnerability. Like, hold the fucking space for their vulnerability. The other piece of advice I'd probably give to people blending families is they are children. This is not a reflection of you, your partner, your parenting, your worth,
your love for each other,
your success. It's not it is not that. It is about these kids finding the new normal
and figuring it out themselves.
Feeling safe in that. Yeah.
And I think coming back to the vulnerability communication, even just sitting down with the kids and being like, hey, man, like, this is scary for me too. Like, I don't want you to think I'm trying to be your mom. I don't want you to think that I'm coming in here and trying to shake everything up and ruin your life. Like, that's not how it is. Like, even just having that really vulnerable conversation with the child. Like how we said a few episodes ago, like, as soon as you speak authentically to the children, you'd be surprised at how well they can hold space and how it kind of de-armors them and their like defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So, if there is a little bit of hostility coming into, the blended family situation, just that, that real honest, vulnerable communication can really help.
My 5-year-old son recently watched Matilda, the original Matilda.
I love Matilda, my favorite movie.
So not only is he making his own breakfast, beautiful, love that, whenever he disagrees with something, he wants to be adopted. That's his new thing. I want to be adopted. I don't want you to be my mum. And one of my 2 stepdaughters heard this the other morning, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, what would I have said like when I was little?" And I said, "Yeah," or no. She said something like, "Did I ever say anything like that or something?" I was like, "Yeah, you absolutely did." And she goes, "And what did you say?" And my response was, "You said, you're not my mum, you can't make me," or something like that. She was little, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. But my response has always been, "No, I'm not your mum, but I'm your parent and you will do it." Like, or no, you're not having this, or we're leaving the shops, whatever it was. I'm your parent. No, I'm not your mum. I've never tried to be that.
Yeah.
I'm never wanting to take that. That's as no one can take that from me. No one could ever take that role from you. Like, that is your role. But I am a parent and I do love you. So we're going to do this the way that we're going to do it, right? So I think that's was something that was quite interesting to be reflected back to me.
I love that. Well, they keep getting better and better.
They do.
These chats keep getting better and better. And lucky for these listeners, we still have 2 more very juicy topics.
We do.
Coming up. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following along on our socials. But Kris, thank you again so much for another juicy chat, talking all things relationships, co-parenting, blended families. Thank you for having me. I'm loving these conversations. And I mean, if you're listening and you're feeling stuck or you're feeling the victim mindset playing out in your life right now, like, message us. Let's chat it out. Definitely open to chatting about things like this. Yeah, amen.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If this landed for you, I would love if you can share this conversation to your socials, and don't forget to tag @InsideOutWithKris. Don't also forget to hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss next week's conversation. Bye.